Boom! Welcome back to the channel. I'm Hank Strange. This is StrangerPalooza. This is my friend PJ of ModVans. And yep, that's my Cybertruck here. And this building is the new ModVans location or warehouse. So what do we?
Yeah, here we are in Sparks, Nevada. We're looking at ModVans' brand new headquarters. We moved everything out here to beautiful Nevada. You got to say it right, or you get in
Nevada.
trouble.
Nevada.
You got to get the yeah.
Nevada.
And yeah, we got a larger facility. You can
That's
see.
cracking me up.
Really proud of our loading docks. We didn't have loading docks.
Yeah,
before.
look at that, man. You're legit. This is nuts.
A little bit bigger space. You know, we've gone from 2,400 square feet in our launch, and now we're at 30,000. So we're over 10 times where we were when we started.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we're just going to do a quick run through the factory here, show you guys a few things. I'm in Nevada because I was doing the SEMA show, playing hooky from that. But it's real fun to come out here and see PJ and see what ModVans has going on. So let's just run into it, PJ.
Okay.
Look at all that room. So much roof space.
Yeah, so we're really excited. We had the really high ceilings that help us when we lift the vans up to work on them.
Just as a point of reference for people out there, this is a Saturday. You do have a few guys in, but typically you're not running on Saturday.
We have I think a really good setup for our employees. And one of the things that kind of comes out of that is the employees get, I don't know the exact number of days, but they get about 2 weeks of paid vacation. But at the end of the year, what we do is we have a production goal. And if we meet that goal, then they get an extra week of fully paid vacation between Christmas and New Year's, which is kind of nice. You know, some places, some manufacturers, you know, that's always a tough time to keep manufacturing because everybody wants time off. And some just have unpaid holiday. And so what we do is we say, hey, you know, if we meet all our goals, and so you know that kind of factors into
so these guys can come in and keep going.
Yep.
And
they want to take some days off, and then in the end the reward is out there. We've been able to do it every year since we've been in business so far. So so we're hopeful for 2024 that we'll be able to get the full week.
Cool. You've got a we've got a transit trail here.
Yeah, we got a transit trail,
which is almost not a thing.
Yeah, we can't talk about that too much. But this may be, in fact, the last transit trail that it's certainly the last one that ModVans is going to deliver.
It is.
Yeah, you know, we've been building lifted off-road transits for more than 7 years now. So so we kind of know what's up. So you know these.
I mean, it looks good, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
And this is a shorter, not a 144 like in Sprinter, but a 148.
Yeah, in transit, the equivalent of a 144 Sprinter is a 148 wheelbase. That's the inches between the axles on the wheelbase.
Looks great.
And then this is the medium roof version, which is interesting because there is not a medium roof version of anything in Sprinter. And it's just interesting. So Ford in their, whatever, they decided to make a low, medium, and high roof versions. And the high roof is actually taller than the high roof Sprinter. So for people that are like 6'4", they love it because they can get in there without having to duck their head. The medium roof is a really interesting compromise. Depending on how you do it, it's like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" inside.
Okay.
And it turns out, like if you actually measure the population, that's 50% of the population can still stand up.
Is that height?
And then I think when you walk up to it, you see it right away. It just has like better proportions. I don't know, more pleasing proportions than the high roof.
Is this one all done, ready to
Yeah,
deliver?
so this one's in quality assurance. So, the build's been completed. Yeah, so they're about done.
I don't know if we could put the lights on in here or not.
We'll see.
Let's see what the folks can see.
Might have to actually turn on, so take it a minute to boot up. But this is our standard, we call it a CV1M. So the M is for medium roof, and then the CV1 is our camper van, our original modular layout. It's really meant to be that crossover vehicle between a full-on RV with all the camping features, but also to have that SUV capability where you can load up. So, we don't have the seats in here. They've been taken out for the quality assurance, but they'll be put back in before delivery to the customer.
And so is this floor a battery or?
This is not a battery floor. So this was, this.
There we go. Everything's on. Okay.
Finally booted up. So this is this is going to be a 504 amp hour lithium battery, but it's not an X series. And you can tell that because it actually has a control panel.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So in our
old school.
Yeah, old school. This is kind of our version of the control panel. But yeah, in our X series, everything's done on your phone pretty much, right?
I mean, and even I can, like you guys can see, I'm about 5'11".
Yeah, so I'm 5'10", and I'm just
so probably here I'd have to go down a little.
Yeah. So
you can see the difference in the roof.
But we have lots of customers, and in practice, when you're using the kitchen, you're kind of leaning over a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed.
And this is gas.
Yeah, so this is a propane model.
Oh, okay.
So it does have, yeah, so this is kind of what we call our standard model. And then the X Series is fully electric.
Okay.
We could put an electric cooktop in, even in our propane models, but it's going to have a propane furnace as well. You know, it's more affordable. It's simpler. So some people just prefer to kind of stick with the older models, and we offer them both. So you can get this in an X Series with the floor battery. Everything's electric. You know, there's no option for a propane stove in the X Series because we don't have a propane tank.
Yeah.
So, but in this model, we do have a 10-gallon propane tank.
Okay.
And it's kind of nice, you know, you can run the furnace for weeks and weeks off the propane.
Yeah.
Not have to worry about
so all
much.
your soft goods comes with this. So the window treatments
soft-sided
and bags.
storage,
Yeah.
window covers, you know, kind of going back to, you know, different things. So in the camper van world, I think we've all kind of agreed that soft-sided insulated window covers
are the way to go.
Yeah, as opposed to what you see in a traditional Class B RV with blinds and slats and that kind of stuff. And it kind of comes back to, you know, what are you using it for? You know, traditional Class B, we're only driving in 70, you know, we're camping out and it's always 70 degrees. So we're not worried about keeping it insulated. We're always camping in an RV campground, so we're not so worried about blackout. Whereas in the camper van world, you know, we're off grid. We're, you know, on somebody's driveway. It may be cold, it may be hot, so that's why we got the insulation. And then it rolls
You're
down
typically
for
chasing the weather, but and
it rolls down for the complete blackout because you know, if you're parked in somebody's driveway, you don't want
anyone to see.
you don't want the light poking through or whatever.
And then it does have a roof. Is this we don't have to show all the details of it, but does this go up? Let's see. Okay, go ahead.
Up top.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, battery's a teeny bit low.
So this one's going straight up, right? Not on
this is what we call our straight lift pop-up.
Okay.
And, you know, we were kind of talking about that before we started the video.
Yeah.
Our MH1, our high roof extended length, has a wedge shape pop-up top. And, you know, one of the feedback that we've been getting...
This is so quiet.
It's all electric. Some of the feedback we've been getting from customers is that they would like to see the straight lift on the MH1.
Right.
So that's something we're very seriously considering for future.
Now that I think about it, it's nice because when we were looking at the outside of this before, very flush, and now it's kind of given it almost like a loft up there, which is really cool. So just standing out here. Maybe.
Yeah, and then the other, you know, we were talking about some other kind of interesting advantages. So because it's flat, if you had a Starlink antenna, you don't have to worry about any motors to keep it flat. It just goes up and down with the top. Because it's flat, you know, you're always going to get some sun for solar charging. Whereas with the slanted pop-up tops with the wedge shape, you know, if you're parked away from the sun, you're not getting any solar charging, which kind of you know, sucks.
So it's a good way to go.
And then we have the rooftop AC that we can put up there because there's no way you're going to get a rooftop AC on the top of a wedge-shaped pop-up top.
Yeah.
And that just really simplifies things. I mean, we actually bought all the components to put an inside-mounted AC, and it's just a nightmare. You know, service is a nightmare.
Let me just give the folks a look here at what this looks like. It's from the inside because I was showing the outside. So this is fantastic. You got a lot of room in here. You really did just give yourself a big loft space up here. So even though this seems like a small van, I mean, I think you can easily sleep your kids up here.
So in the CV1 and CV1M, interestingly enough, the pop-up top is actually the primary bed. So it kind of gives you that ability to have like a full open room downstairs if you don't have the bed down
so
there.
that's what's going on here. But you can do a bed here if you need to.
You can add a second bed.
Okay.
But I would say in our low and medium roof models, that upstairs bed is the main bed. And in fact, you wouldn't even take those panels and cushions for the downstairs bed for a lot of trips. Yeah. And that was really meant so that you could just squeeze more. You have way more stuff for your gear, you know, when you don't have a bed
Or you can set up your office if you're working from the van. Very cool.
And it turns out that it's actually super nice to sleep in the pop-up top. I mean, everybody does. Yeah, you're surrounded by windows. You know, if it's nice weather, you got everything open. And then in the winter, you put all the privacy covers down and you feel like you're in a little cave. Yeah. So even in the winter, it's really nice. And we do get a lot of good feedback from our customers saying, oh, you know, the furnaces that we include in here, in the X Series, we have electric furnace just for the pop-up top. But in the standard model with the propane furnace, there's plenty of heat that gets up there. So a lot of good feedback that sleeping in the pop-up top in the winter is not an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done it. In the summer, well, like if you've got the AC up there, it's not an issue in the summer
in
either.
our low and medium roof, we have the rooftop AC. Yeah. And then, with the high roof going to a straight lift, we'll be able to put an AC right on the top as well. So, that air conditioning just for the pop-up top. Yeah.
So let's just go through some vans real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just to see what's out here. And then we'll get into like some details of, you know, some more detailed look at components that you guys make. This was at SEMA show last year.
Yeah, so our wheel vendor, Hostile, they invited us to participate, and they do. It's a huge deal for them. SEMA is. It's not such a big deal for, in my opinion, for camper and adventure vans, but for the aftermarket accessory,
it's getting less and less for that stuff. At some point, they were, you know, if you remember, like to me, they were starting to build an overlanding section.
Yep.
But I've noticed it's just. Like this year I was there,
yeah.
they're treating the overlanding section worse and worse, in my opinion, and it's shrinking.
Yeah. It's just never been a perfect fit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of people selling wraps and wheels and all these really cool automotive aftermarket accessories, but you know, it's not perfect. Like, you know, myself, we're an RV manufacturer.
Yeah.
You know, our accessories, we do sell them separately, but that's not our main thing.
Yeah.
So we would go to shows that are more oriented towards selling complete vehicles than selling wheels and tires and wraps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a perfect
It's
fit.
maybe not the best thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of adventure van shows that are popping up on the weekends all around the country, and that's probably doing better.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's a better fit. That's what I know. But
So,
anyway,
yeah, let's run through
we
this
were at
real
the
quick.
SEMA, and we had, you know, we had the opportunity to be there basically for free. So we were like, what can we do to kind of, you know, jazz things up and make it cool? So we had this wrap. The wrap has been really popular.
Yeah, let me walk around this while you're talking.
We did
Go
the backwoods
Looks
bumper
great.
on the front. You know, you can see on the logos that we had some partnerships that people were willing to contribute to the build. So that was fun.
Yeah, I think I did a short. Check this out. This is a ModVans van that I ran into here. And what is this? Fab Foes bike on it. But I know this is their box that they make. But it is all street wrapped right here. I see Backwoods Outdoors, ModVans right here. There you go. It's looking good.
And it's a low roof, so it's kind of got that tough look, especially with the front bumper, which, you know, we were talking about Sprinter versus Transit. And I feel like, you know, the front bumper, when you put them on these vans, it really kind of corrects some of the weak chin effect that the Transit has.
So it's like dudes with beards now, you know, like that tactical beard makes you look so much better.
Yeah, and
You know,
there's just
Jason
some lines,
Momoa talking about you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
okay,
then,
cool.
And then on the back, we have the ModVans rear accessories. We did put this crazy bike rack on here because at the time we had an electric bike vendor that participated with us.
Okay.
They built this bitchin' electric bike, mountain bike that was just awesome looking. And so that was really fun. And we got some good pictures out of it.
Sweet.
So you can see our new, check out the license plate. That's Lake Tahoe. That's our new Nevada plates that we have on all the vans. So.
Cool. Because of the move, right?
Yeah.
The plate looks good.
And then,
okay.
Yeah.
So I've noticed just looking here, there's a lot of, what do you call it? Mid-roof? Low roof?
Low roof and mid-roof. Yeah. So
going on.
you know, we offer all three models. And low, medium, and high roof. And it's really interesting. We get a lot of questions about what's the favorite. And the reality is that there's a market for all of them. So right now, when we went to the show, we recently went to Adventure Van Expo in Ventura, California. And we had the high roof and the low roof side by side. And, you know, I think people coming from the Class B world, they think, oh, well, why would you ever even look at the low roof when there's this beautiful high roof with a shower inside? That show, the low roof was easily 3 times more popular than the high roof.
So what's the reason? What's someone looking for? I think they kind of look cool. I'm guessing they're more aerodynamic, especially with that roof down. But what's the reason that folks are looking to buy those? Is it location based?
I think it is somewhat location based. In Ventura, you're in a surf community. You're having people thinking about how they're going to put the boards on the roof. You know, how are you going to get it up on top of the high roof? You know, low roof, it's, you know, the ladder and everything's more accessible as far as that goes.
Okay.
There's also just, you know, the idea is, am I using this every day or is it only for special trips? And I think in that Ventura community, you're just looking at people that are more like, hey, yeah, maybe I'm almost retired or I have kids that go to surf camp every morning.
Have like 5 different vehicles.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, do I see myself driving this low roof every day? Yes. You know, that's a modest increase from a large SUV, let's say.
Okay.
This high roof, that's a whole totally different deal because it's tall and long and way more comfortable inside, but not as comfortable to drive on a daily basis.
Okay, makes sense. You're right. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
You do have a high roof going on back here.
And it's interesting. So when we sell, we're not typically selling into the Class B. This is the only vehicle that we built that has an inside shower. So that kind of closed us out of the traditional Class B RV market, which was fine because we didn't want to be in there competing head to head with, you know, all these giant RV manufacturers.
Right.
But now that we have it, you know, we're starting to see these are actually two separate markets. You know, there's the market for that and the market for Class B RV. When you're in this market for the low roof van, a lot of the consumers in that segment, they'd never imagine, like, this is way too much for them. They stand next to it and they're just like, oh my God, I can't drive it. Yeah, there's no way.
Which it really is easy to drive, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
It's totally an intimidation factor. And in fact, those same drivers, my joke is, you know, that the biggest thing they've ever driven is a Prius. They come to like get their low roof van, which to us is a relatively small vehicle, and they stand next to it and they're like, I'm kind of scared to drive it home. And we're like, you're going to be fine, don't worry. And then they get home and they call us and they're like, oh, it was great to drive on the highway. It drives like, you know, like my SUV. It is a relatively easy, and it does catch the wind less. You know, if you're driving, especially here, you know, in Nevada, California, these big wide open high desert environments, you're going to get wind in the afternoon. That's just how it is, and it's whipping 50 miles an hour, and that is just going to catch the wind more than same thing if you're driving right next to semis, you know, and they're creating that.
It becomes kind of a sail. Yeah, I agree with that. So this is your solution if you're going from a Prius, which I've seen people actually living in their Prius. I met a guy recently. It's like a whole community of that. This is your next step up.
It's kind of a progression.
Okay, so I know we've got some work in progress on this one, which we've shown before. I'll give you guys a look, but this is basically a shell at this point. Right?
We've got it all.
We're still in shell mode here.
Yeah, so we basically try to do it in a certain order where we do all the metal cutting up front so that, you know, all the chips are done and stuff like that. We kind of learned through School of Hard Knocks, you know, if you cut windows out after you put the interior in, guess what? You know, you got you got some problems with the metal inside the van.
Is this getting the bumper change?
Yeah, so this is going to get an aluminous front bumper with a winch, and so so we have the, you know, the stock bumper up here that's been taken off, and this could be replaced by this.
And all the sensors and everything.
So you know, the first few bumpers that we put on the Transits after they came out with the parking sensors, we actually had to cut these holes and figure out the angles and stuff like that, and it was a fun, interesting technical challenge, but not something we wanted to do for, you know, as a normal thing. And I don't want to make bumpers, so we make some accessories, but I don't want to make bumpers. I'm kind of worried about the liability associated with replacing safety features on the van. And so it's great that you can see it right here, that the bumper manufacturers have stepped up and they have the locations for the sensors. This is actually for the radar that does the adaptive cruise control. So it can shine through that smoke glass.
So let's see, let's keep moving this way.
Sure.
What else do we have? I know we've got some different states of construction going on here as well.
Another high roof that's in progress. It's got the pop-up top.
These kind of look cool.
The low roof? Yeah. Once you kind of get your mind around it, I actually think that's the coolest looking of the Transits, really of the camper vans. The low roof with the pop-up top is still it's my favorite.
I mean, that one, the one over there we were looking at that you did for SEMA is just, But these kind of look a little sci-fi with that pop top on it.
So that's actually an older van here. I think it's here for service, but so, and you can see it's kind of got a different look too because it doesn't have the rear windows. So
it does, And then this is another shell that we could probably dip into
one
here real quick.
Got a little bit of progress to it.
This has the pop top on it, but does it have the bed part of the pop top in it yet? I think PJ actually has that around here, so I'm assuming right now wiring and stuff like that's going on here. So I was just saying, so this has your pop top on it, but not the bed pan in there.
That's correct, right? So after, it'll be a little bit further in the progress because the guys like to keep it open while we're doing, you know, the wiring and stuff like that. But then eventually, we'll put in, it's an aluminum honeycomb bed panel that we put in. So we cut out the roof, we put in this reinforcement frame, which you can actually see it right now. It's all engineered to pass the crush test, the FEMSS roof crush test, and then we'll put in the aluminum honeycomb, which forms the surface of the bed, and that gives us a nice flat, super stiff surface. You know, it's great for the foundation of our foam bed. And then also, I was trying to explain a little bit, one of the reasons our pop-up tops, especially on the high roof, look really nice is because we kind of inset that bed a little bit into the roof so that the top, when it's down, is much lower profile, slimmer. Yeah,
exactly. So better aerodynamics and everything. We could probably take a look on that over here somewhere. I know you were showing it to me.
I think the pop-up top's on this one, so you could see it.
Is that? No, I could show that, but I'm talking about the bed pan that goes in.
We'll cross over the bed
we'll show
pan.
that,
Yeah. And
What's this big thing right here?
So this is, we call it the sanding booth.
Okay.
So over here, actually, I'll show you this. This is the mold. So we make the pop-up tops in-house, and this is the mold that we use to make it. And so, but after it comes out, it has to be trimmed. And it's a piece that's made out of fiberglass and foam, and it makes this kind of dust that's nobody wants to breathe that. So we actually bring it in here into this filtered environment to do that, and then plus we can use it for sanding. So it does a little bit of surface sanding before it goes out to a paint shop to get automotive type paints. And then over here you see our CNC equipment. We're kind of going backwards in the process, so we're going from finish to start, so and that's okay.
I think we have a good how it's made video out there that folks can look at.
Yeah. So, but
this is just showing that you guys have moved to a bigger space here, and
so we have 30,000 square feet, and I feel like this is a really good size for us. We had 23,000 before, and I always felt like we were just missing a little bit of space to kind of spread out and really do like this assembly work where. I mean, we make so many things, which you can kind of see in this rack, you know, these racks where we're making pop-up tops, we're making cabinets, you know, all these metal parts are all, you can see on the racks over here, these are custom designed by ModVans, you know, and so these are all our own design. And so these are things that we make, and having the room to, you know, store them and then work on them and convert them into the different appliances.
So what's being put together over here? I'm guessing heater?
Yeah, well, we'll look at different pieces.
Okay.
So this is our inverter assembly. So, you know, again, going back to things that make ModVans unique, this is an aluminum box that we're going to put the inverter in. And you can see the inverter is a pretty big piece. And what will happen is if we put this in a cabinet, you lose that space in the cabinet for your, you know, for your stuff. And then also all of a sudden that cabinet can't be moved because it's tied in with wires and stuff like that. So we put the inverter in an aluminum box. We have to do all this crazy stuff with wiring and fans, and then we mount it under the van. Then it's not in your cabinet. You know, it really enables the modular
this
features.
Is mounted under the van, but it's still set up to be vented and all that.
That's
stuff.
right. Yeah. So it's watertight, and then it also has this will go into the van so that it can you know, cool itself when it gets nice and hot, but it's not subject to, you know, dirt and stuff like that. Okay. So,
and I don't know if you guys saw that spark, so I guess you just connected it to some batteries.
Yeah, I think he's getting ready to do some load testing.
Do some testing,
yeah. So this is a floor battery that's in progress, and we've talked about the floor battery before. So this is, you know, our first generation floor battery, which we're still putting into our production vehicles. And so we're going to put it together.
So this is kind of a clamshell.
Yeah, so there'll be another half. It's probably right there. That's going to sit down on top of this, and then, you know, it's all screwed together, and then eventually it'll be put into the floor of a van. It becomes the floor of a van. And
you guys have this organized so you can still put screws in.
Yeah. So these are all the holes that you see. There's two series of holes. One series of holes are going to hold it all together, closed, and then another series of holes that are go all the way through into the van, you know, the frame of the van to tie it into the van itself.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so there's actually two series of screws. And then there's like these vent holes that allow it to drain and breathe and stuff like that. So it's all part of a, you know, an engineered assembly that goes into that.
I think that's great, just because you are adding about an inch, maybe a little bit more than an inch to the floor, but you're not having to find a big cabinet that your batteries go into.
Yeah, it doesn't take any, basically it doesn't take any space. The way it works in terms of, you know, actual measurements is, when you're starting with a cargo van, and we saw some over there, the floors are ribbed. So you have to do something with that anyway. And then you're going to want to put some kind of insulation, you know, to make a nice camper van. And I can just tell you, we've had uninsulated vans. They come that way. You drive them in Vegas in 120 feet, you know, degrees across you're feeling the heat come up off the floor.
Right.
You're camping down in Bishop or Mammoth during the winter, so you can go snowboarding and rock climbing in the winter. You feel the cold coming up through the bottom of the van.
Right.
So you need insulation out there.
Yeah.
So it turns out you do that. Plus you need some nice plywood to even out the ribs. And so when you do that, you end up with a floor that's like roughly an inch thick. And so what we do is we say, oh, well, we're going to add, you know, take that inch, split it into half an inch, and then we'll put an inch of batteries in the middle.
Yeah.
So it ends up being, you know, a 2-inch thick floor, and we've added an inch thickness to
in this space. How much batteries in terms of amp hours?
This is roughly 1,000 amp hours. And then we'll build 2 of these modules together for our full-size battery, and then it'll be 2,000 amp hours.
Oh, okay. And that's about how many? Because I think it's better to look at it, what, in watts or?
So, you know, like if you were looking at an electric car, they would talk about kilowatt or kilowatt hours. So that's actually a better way, but I feel like in the van world, people just don't understand.
Makes it easier.
Yeah, well, so the problem with amp hours is it depends on the voltage of the system. So this is a 12 volt system, and so when I say 1,000 amp hours, everybody's like, we're all in lockstep, everybody understands. But now all of a sudden, if you have a 48 volt system, well, the reality is 1 amp hour at 48 volts is different than 1 amp hour at 12 volts, and it actually looks worse, right? So you actually have 1/4 the running time if you have the same amp hours at 4 times the voltage.
Okay.
So it doesn't look as good, right? So then it starts making sense to talk in kilowatt hours, but people's brains just don't work that way. They can't make the jump. So what you'll see is some people that make 48 volt battery systems, which we do plan to do as soon as the air conditioners are available that match it. They'll start talking about in 12 volt equivalent amp hours. So maybe their battery is technically only a 100 amp hour battery, but they'll say, oh, it's a 400 amp hour equivalent.
Right.
Instead of quoting it in kilowatt hours, which is the right way, so you don't have to do that, but people's minds just don't work that way.
Yeah.
But our full battery is about 26 kilowatt hours, which is, compared to the biggest battery on the market right now, I think somebody just crested like 12 or 13 kilowatt hours, so it's still twice as big as that. And of course, we've been delivering this for a couple of years now. So
okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see where we're going here. I know you've got some more components.
Yeah, so we,
electric circuit boards you guys make.
So we just moved into this, but you can kind of look at this, the sea of jumbles here.
Right.
We do design our own circuit boards. I just did a big webinar where I actually walked through the history of all the different circuit boards, which is kind of fun, and it's been a learning process. We were talking about fast failing and how SpaceX is doing these launches, and sometimes they blow up, right? But we still learn and we get that information back. So we've kind of been through some of that fast failing and trial and error with the circuit boards and with the software, and that's resulted in where we are today, which is getting pretty mature with understanding how to build these circuit boards.
So these are your designed circuit boards?
That's right, yes.
Okay.
So we design them in-house. We have a PCB designer, electrical engineers, and then there's also firmware. So this is kind of going back to the computer-controlled vehicle. Why do you do this? The answer is so that you can write software that controls everything. When you flip a switch, it's not just completing a circuit. What it's doing is it's actually just sending a signal back to the central computer that says, hey, he wants to turn on the lights over the downstairs bed. The computer then has some software that interprets that and it says, okay, let me turn that signal on. And so that's what the circuit board, the hardware enables that, but then there's software running that connects it all together.
Okay.
And then the last part is making sure that software is updatable, anywhere in the world. They call it over the air, but really we all know we're talking about you're sitting in your driveway, you're sitting at the RV campground, you're sitting in front of In-N-Out, and we can push a software update that updates, the circuitry, either fixing a problem that we discovered,
or diagnosing
an issue, or adding new features, right? So that's really kind of the holy grail. Is like, hey, over time, maybe we have lights that know what you want. We have floor heaters that turn on automatically as you're moving around in the cabin. We're using energy more efficiently because we're only heating the places where you're actually in the van, and not kind of know intuitively that there's a major difference in the pace of development between these giant companies and how fast they build things.
Right.
And and what a small, scrappy, lean startup can do, that we can really push the envelope a lot faster, like 5 times faster, 10 times faster.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what you're seeing here is, we're all these generations ahead. Companies that start this process now, they're going to have to learn all those same things that we learned over this process. So people are like, oh, the big guys are going to do this and that, and I'm like, they will eventually, but they have to start where we did. At ground
they're
zero.
a little behind. So now we've got a different battery setup here. You want to walk me through?
So
what
this
we're
is
looking at?
So we just did the reveal of this a couple months ago. This is our second generation of floor battery, and I have some photos, some 3D renderings that I can show you. But this has all been designed. This is taking all the lessons that we learned in building our first generation, which we just saw, and combining those and how can we improve this? How can we make it easier to service, easier to install, more flexible and modular options? And so we came up with this idea of the floor battery module. And so this is, you can see it right here. It's about 50 pounds. This is a module that will drop into a pocket that's carved by our C&C into the floor. And it'll be completely sealed. So let me show you.
So this is a step up from what we saw with the clamshell just now.
Yeah, so the clamshell works. It's great. It has that cool feature of a battery that disappears. That's the biggest battery in the RV industry, right? Low distribution of weight, but it had some difficulties, which actually we could kind of see if you were to go back and look at that footage. You know, first of all, it's pretty tedious to assemble. There's a lot of wires going everywhere, and then the component is so big it winds up being big and heavy and unwieldy. We only offer 2 options, you know, half, 1,000 or 2,000 amp hours.
Right, and it just goes in the floor.
Yeah. And so
now this goes in the floor too, but I'm assuming you could probably put this in a wall or something.
You could put this wherever you can
more
could fit it,
where you install
and then you don't have to buy, you know, 1,000 amp hours or 2,000. This current module is about 272 amp hours. And you can buy 1 of them, 2 of them, 3 of them. You can buy all the way up to 8 of them.
So and you can upgrade.
Yeah, so you would be able to start with 1, you know, add 1 down the road, stuff like that. It's also serviceable. You know, if some new battery technology comes out, then you're swapping out modules rather than having to.
So it's easier to swap out.
I would say,
because I think you and I discussed that you could take out the whole clamshell of what you have over there, but this would be way easier.
Yeah, you can just tell. Yeah, if we got to come up with something, it's that exact form factor, and it's.
Yeah, that's cool.
All accessible from the top.
So is this in a van yet, or
so
will
no?
be
This
soon?
is a prototype that we built. So we have a vendor that makes the materials that this case is made out of.
Composite.
Composites that we use for our pop-up top.
Okay.
And they came to us and they said, hey, we want to do this big trade show. We know you know all about batteries. We want you to design a battery box. So I designed the battery box, and then we worked together with that vendor to put together the prototype, and then we had a great show. It was actually super cool. They had like this big glass booth, and they actually made these at the show, the boxes. And then I built this module kind of partly to, the deadline was for that show, but now that we have it, we can kind of talk to our partners, our investors, and be like, hey, this is the future. We're taking all the lessons that we learned from generation 1, and now we're at generation 2, and then it's the same thing. We know people are going to copy the floor battery. That's I do have a couple patents on it, but I know people are going to try to copy it. But we're just going to keep moving ahead. We're going to keep staying ahead. Other innovations like this is actually our full BMS battery management system. This is the thing that decides that the battery should be on or off. Monitors the temperature, voltage, and stuff like that. So we're going to swap this out for what we call a micro BMS. And again, this comes back to the lessons that we've learned from having the generation 1, where we brought all the wiring back to a central BMS that was actually this card, which works, but now you have a central point of failure. You have a lot of wires going back. And with this thing, we consolidated down. There's just like the one big wire for the power, one wire for communications, a lot simpler wiring. And then the other thing we were talking about was like, you have 7 of these in your floor. One of them, has to turn off. Let's say it gets too hot or too cold. Something goes wrong with it. You still have 6 more. You still have plenty of capacity. You have that redundancy that you're getting out of having 7 modules in your floor. So we thought that was a pretty cool feature. So we're excited about bringing that micro BMS architecture to the market. People ask all the time, oh, when am I going to get it? Can I get it in my van? And the answer is we're not giving a projected delivery date on these yet. It's going to be a little while, but if you're interested in buying these separately, we are planning to offer these. So the previous generation, I didn't feel like it was really packaged in a way that we could sell it to people. But this one will definitely be. It'll be totally sealed, connectorized, and you can just buy them from us and then put them in your own floor.
Oh, cool. All right. So one of the reasons and just to wrap this up here,
Sure.
I'm going to try to keep it quick so we can go have some fun. But one of the reasons why I like ModVans is I think you guys are building vans closer to like how Tesla is building cars. You're not just building it to like, okay, we're going to put this van together and get it out the door. You have like a further mission here in mind. I know you and I talk about that all the time. Eventually you plan on building the electric van.
Yeah, so this is all part of a master plan that we've been telling investors and customers from the very beginning of ModVans. We had this vision of the future vehicle that has a custom body and stuff, but then I had these steps on the way that I felt like are very valuable. So this step right here that we're talking about is really about ModVans creating that software-defined vehicle that Tesla does, but I made an intermediate step, which is software-defined RV. So and I feel like there's 2 reasons for that intermediate step. Number 1 is it gives us that opportunity to learn. We're learning about it before we commit to $1 billion worth of development or whatever it takes to build a custom
And you're still
vehicle.
building vans, which you're getting a great information from people who are buying vans.
Feedback about what's important to them, how much they're willing to spend. We're learning all this, and we're learning how to build the technology. And it's useful all by itself, right? So like, the software-defined van with these big batteries, I can sell that. People find that genuinely useful. And it becomes a stepping stone to that future vision of, yeah, we're going to build a totally, you know, electric, maybe hybrid camper van with a custom body. And guess what? We don't have to reinvent, you know, how to build circuit boards, how to control lights with software, you know, how to do over-the-air updates. We've already figured it out. When we get there, that's one less thing that we have to worry about. Yeah.
So all those things are coming. I think it's great that the byproduct that we're getting of that is some really cool innovation, right? Like you were talking about the circuitry, the batteries, you and I have, the pop tops for that matter, I think some good things coming from it. So look forward to seeing more on that. If you guys are interested in this, there's a lot of, I've done quite a few videos. You've got some good videos on YouTube, YouTube/ModVans.
Or C/ModVans.
Right, there you go.
They keep changing it. It's kind of funny.
They change it all the time. I think that's URL. Channel. C for channel. So if people do want to know more about you, how do they go about getting all that?
So if you want to contact me personally, the best place to find me is on LinkedIn. You know, I'll answer your request eventually. I might not do it tomorrow, but but as far as ModVans, just our website, modvans.com. And we have videos about our models. We do have, you know, information if you want to become an investor. And then, our YouTube channel's a great place to see videos. And then, of course, you know, StrangerPalooza, right?
Absolutely. You could see them in person. You're doing different shows, so they really need to check the website.
Yeah, so you really got to go to our events. Events just closed out for the 2024. We just did our last one in Ventura.
Okay.
We do have kind of a new video that we're going to make, and I think that's going to become an event all by itself.
Okay.
It'll be here in, you know, the Reno metropolitan area.
Okay.
So, so sometime hopefully before Christmas, we'll have a kind of a mini event for ourselves. So,
oh, nice.
So that'll be
nice.
That's in the plans.
Thanks a lot, PJ.
Right.
Always cool hanging out with you. I learn
Awesome.
a lot from him when it comes to the whole van space and all the different things that go into it. So I really do appreciate him and everyone else at the ModVans team taking the time to, you know.
Well, thanks for making the trip and bringing your Cybertruck. That was
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, it was driving itself the whole way from our house to the shop. So.
Yeah, that was cool, right?
I was really interested to see Lori let it drive, so I was impressed.
Yeah, me too.
She wouldn't let her Mach-E drive. So.
No, absolutely not. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. We're out of here. Peace.